You walk into a room, and the reason you walked in is gone. You stand there, you wait for it to come back. Nothing, so you go back to where you started, and the second you do, it returns, instantly, like it was never lost at all. You probably blamed yourself, tired, distracted, getting older. You weren't, your brain did that on purpose, and it has a name. It's called the doorway effect, and it led neuroscientists to something far more unsettling. Your brain is deleting your life, quietly, constantly. The doorway is just the part you can feel. Here's how they found it. Researchers had people move through rooms, carrying objects, remembering what they held and what they meant to do next. And people forgot more often right after passing through a doorway, not after the same distance, not after the same amount of time. The forgetting was tied to the door itself. The doorway was the trigger. Because to your brain, a door isn't just a door, it's a boundary, and neuroscientists believe your brain carves your entire life along boundaries like this. They call it event segmentation. It takes the endless, unbroken stream of your experience and chops it into pieces, into events, each one with a beginning and an end. Researchers have even identified neurons that come alive right around these boundaries, quiet in the middle of a moment, then firing as one scene gives way to the next, as if a part of you is marking the cut. This is over. Begin the next one. So when you step through that doorway, the cut happens. Your brain wraps the old scene and lets go of whatever you were holding, the thought you walked in with, closed inside a room you already left. And it does this all day. Every change is a cut, a new room, a finished conversation, a shift in mood. It can't keep every piece, so it keeps almost none of them. What you call your memory isn't a recording of your life. It's a handful of saved scenes floating in an ocean of everything your brain erased. And some of it was never even offered to you. Try to remember being 2 years old, your first steps, your first words, the thousands of hours someone spent holding you. It's all gone. Every human loses it. We call it childhood amnesia, and the reason is quietly disturbing. For the first few years of your life, the machine that saves your scenes wasn't finished being built. You were there for the most important chapter of your life. Your brain just wasn't recording yet. And even once it started recording, it never saved fairly. Your brain doesn't store an experience and average it out. It keeps two things, the most intense moment and the way it ended. The long, ordinary middle is sanded down to almost nothing. It's why you remember how a trip began and how it ended, while the days in between blur into one. Your brain isn't keeping your life. It's keeping the highlights and the goodbyes. Which finally explains something you've felt your whole life, why time keeps speeding up. When you were young, almost everything was a first, and novelty does something strange to time. A new, surprising experience gets recorded in far more detail than a familiar one, and more detail feels like more time. It's why a single childhood summer could feel like it went on forever. You see it at the extreme. People who survive a car crash or a fall almost always say the same thing. Time slowed down, but studies suggest it didn't. Your brain simply recorded those few seconds in such dense, vivid detail that, looking back, they feel stretched out. The slow motion isn't happening in the moment. Your brain builds it afterward, out of memory. Then you grew up and your days began to rhyme. The same room, the same route, the same screen, nothing new to record, so your brain saves the days in low resolution and lets most of them dissolve. The years didn't get shorter, you just stopped recording them. And to see what these boundaries really are, look at what happens when memory breaks completely. There are patients whose amnesia is so severe they can hold a warm, normal conversation with you for a few minutes, lucid, completely themselves. Then you step out of the room, you wait a moment, you come back, and they greet you like a stranger, meeting you for the very first time. For them, leaving the room didn't end the conversation. It erased you. The doorway closed, and everything on the other side was gone. That is the machinery, and somewhere inside it, there are moments you would give anything to get back. Not the big ones, the ordinary ones, a normal afternoon, a quiet meal, someone you love sitting across from you, saying nothing important at all. You didn't know it was a scene worth keeping. It felt like there would be 1,000 more just like it, so your brain let it go. There was a last time for everything, and you almost never noticed it happen. The last time someone carried you to bed. The last time your whole family stood in one room. The last time you saw a person who is no longer in your life. Every one of those was a final scene, and your brain closed the door on it like any other, quietly, without warning, without ever telling you it was the end. And the few scenes you did keep, you are slowly wearing away just by loving them, because every time you pull up a memory, your brain rewrites it before putting it back. The moments you return to the most are the ones drifting furthest from what actually happened. The face you picture when you miss someone is not quite their face anymore. It's a copy of a copy, redrawn a little more each time you reach for it. So by now this all feels like a tragedy, a slow, quiet theft. You might be wishing your brain had just saved more. But there are people who can't forget. It's real and it's incredibly rare. A handful of people on Earth can recall almost every single day of their lives. Name a random date from decades ago, and they will tell you the weather, what they wore, what they ate, what they felt. Nothing fades. And they are not at peace. The first person ever studied with this ability described it as relentless, exhausting, a memory that never lets go, because when you cannot forget, every old wound stays open, every humiliation stays fresh, every loss replays in full color forever. They don't get to heal, because healing is just a gentle kind of forgetting. So maybe the goal was never to remember everything. Maybe your brain deletes so much because a life where nothing fades would be impossible to carry. The people who remember everything are trapped inside their own past. The rest of us are quietly carried forward by forgetting. It is what lets the wound finally close. It is what lets you stop being who you were and become someone new. So the real miracle was never your memory. The miracle is that your brain knows what to let go. But it can't do all of it for you. You can't keep every scene. You were never meant to. What you can do is choose which ones are worth handing to whoever you're becoming. Put yourself somewhere new on purpose and give your brain a beginning worth saving. And when you find yourself inside a moment that matters, stop just for a second. Look at the person in front of you. Feel the weight of an ordinary day while it's still happening. And quietly tell yourself, this one, keep this one. Because in the end, that is all a life really is. Not the years, not the long, unbroken film, just the few scenes your brain decided were worth protecting from the dark. So before you walk into the next room, before the next quiet little cut, take one last look at the one you're standing in. Because one day, you'll step through a doorway for the last time. And you won't even feel the cut. So before you go, do the one thing your brain can't do on its own. Tap like, and this one gets saved. Subscribe, so this isn't the last time we meet here. And I'll see you in the next room.